Hi, I'm Sonja. Welcome back to my channel, Sonja on Being 60. Today we're going to carbify a Tres Leches cake. It was my son's birthday this past week and we'll be celebrating with dinner tomorrow, and I asked him what he would like for dessert and he requested a Tres Leches cake. So I thought, well, let's do a traditional Tres Leches cake and I'll also do a low-carb version of it and see how that goes. If you don't know, a Tres Leches cake is a Mexican dessert and it's made essentially with 3 different types of milk. So in the regular recipe, we'll be using like carnation evaporated milk. We'll be using the dulce de leche, like a caramel type flavoring of sweetened condensed milk, plus also some heavy whipping cream. That mixture will be infused into the cake once it's baked, and for the cake we'll just be using some whole milk. So before I start cooking today, I just wanted to chat about something that I heard this on a YouTube channel and I thought, this is really interesting. You know how we all kind of have goals. It can be goals for whatever. I want to exercise, I want to lose weight, I want to take a course, I want to travel, whatever the goal is. But I'm going to talk about exercise because this is what this YouTuber was talking about, and his channel is Wheezy Waiter. I will link below the specific video that I was watching. He was talking about how, a year ago he decided he was going to exercise every day. And he was saying, well, so why did I decide to exercise? And so, well, I made a list. I want to feel better. I want to be healthy as I get older. And, like all the typical things we want to do when we exercise. And then he goes on to say, but, he's like, but it's not really a goal. It's, okay, I want to exercise every day. But a goal means typically that I have an end sight in mind. And that's true. And I think when we start, let's say we want to start exercising. Our goal is, okay, maybe in 6 months, I want to be able to walk around the block, eat more easily than I could today. Or I want to be able to cycle 10 kilometers, or I want to be able to run 5 kilometers. It's kind of, I want to exercise, but I have a reason for doing it. There's like an end product. But when you start thinking about it, exercise should be something that we actually do every single day in some form because it's good for us. It makes us healthier. It makes us stronger. It helps us certainly as we get older. If we don't want to have mobility issues, joint issues, bone issues, we need to do some form of exercise. And what he was saying, and this is what struck me, he says, so every day do you brush your teeth? And probably the audience is saying, yeah. And he's like, well, do you write it down on your to-do list? No. He says, it's just a part of your day. It's part of your daily routine. And why do you brush your teeth? Well, it's because for oral hygiene, you don't want your teeth to fall out. You don't want to get cavities. You want to have healthy teeth. You want to keep your teeth. And it just struck me. I thought, it's so true. Like when it comes to exercise, it shouldn't be something that we write down every day on our to-do list. Oh, I have to exercise for 20 minutes today. Just like, like we have our routines in the morning. I get up, I brush my teeth, I have my coffee, I'll do a few things, I'll go to do, my workout, I'll go to work, I'll do another workout, I'll whatever, right? But exercise should become almost as routine as brushing our teeth, because in the broad sense of exercise, there's really no end in sight. There's no end goal. Like I say, at the beginning, there may be specific goals. You want to start exercising because you want to achieve a specific goal. But once that's done, it's like, oh, what? Then you're just going to wipe your hands and say, yeah, did that. Just go back to the couch, sit on the couch and do nothing for the rest of my life. I don't think so. I think if we want to actually, be healthier as we get older, if we don't want those mobility issues, if we don't want joint issues, if we want strong bones, then exercise becomes a part of your routine without even thinking about it. At any rate, I just thought I'd interject that. I thought that was just a really interesting way to look at things, a different perspective. And I think sometimes it's all about a different perspective and how we see things. And if you can change things around a bit, then maybe it makes it easier to achieve what it is that you set out to do. So let's get back to our cake. So the first thing that I need to do is I have a stick of butter. So I melt this with the milk. So I'll take care of that, and then we'll get going on the next steps. The butter and milk are now melted, and I've just put it off heat. The next thing to do is I have 4 eggs in my blender here, and I'm going to whip them, and whip them for about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to increase my speed, and they're going to continue whipping for about 7 minutes till they get really nice and thick and glossy and pale colored. And from that point, I'll add in the sugar, and I have my flour mixture here. I have my regular flour, some baking powder, salt, and cinnamon. That just gets kind of incorporated, and then it will get added to my mixture, and then it goes into the oven. But I'll be back. I'll show you what the eggs look like once they're ready to have everything else incorporated into them. So as you can see, the eggs are really getting nice and pale yellow. I also incorporated the sugar into this, so they're getting very thick and glossy. So the eggs have been beating with the sugar. I incorporated the sugar into this mixture for about 5-6 minutes, and you can see that they're a really nice pale yellow. They're very glossy and thick. And now I will just incorporate vanilla and the flour. We'll mix that up very slowly, and then it's ready to be popped into the oven. So the cake now is ready to go into the oven, and I forgot to mention when I was adding the flour, I also added in the butter and the milk mixture. So that went in first, and then the flour went in a couple of batches. So it's gonna go in the oven now. It's a 325 degree oven. This is in a 9 by 13 inch pan that I've sprayed with some avocado spray, and I put a piece of parchment paper at the bottom. So it's gonna go into the oven for about 30 minutes. So while the cake is baking, I will get started on the low carb cake. And I am making this one from the book called The Ultimate Guide to Keto Baking. If you enjoy baking and are looking for great low carb recipes, love this book. There's so many recipes in here that I've tried that I just love. They're super tasty. The ingredients, I would say for the most part, are pretty basic ingredients. Sometimes they might have a special ingredient that you might need, or maybe it's just an optional thing, but the baking is fabulous. With both recipes, I will link either if I can find a link to the recipe. If not, I will write out what the ingredients are that I've used. And I will also provide all of the macro contents of each. So while the first cake is baking, and before I go on to make the next cake, I'm going to make the low carb sweetened condensed milk. And this takes about a half an hour to make. So what you do is you have 1.5 cups of heavy whipping cream, and I'll bring that up to a boil, and then I'll continue kind of simmering it for 30 minutes. Then we have sweetener. It's a combination, it's powdered, not a non-sugar sweetener, if you will. I'm using half allulose, so a 1/4 cup of allulose and a 1/4 cup of powdered erythritol. And in this case, I'm using Leches that I have blended up to bring to a powder. And then that will get all incorporated, and that'll be cooled, and that will be what we add to the low carb cake once it's made and cooled down. So the cream is just simmering now, and I will start on the other cake. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have my egg whites. I have 5 eggs that have been separated. I will take the egg whites and we'll bring them up to a stiff peak. And then I take my egg yolks, and in a separate bowl, I need to make them nice and pale again and foamy. And I'll have to do it with my little hand mixer because my KitchenAid, I only have one bowl for that. So, so we'll do that. And then it'll be time to incorporate the rest of the ingredients and pop that in the oven. Okay, so now I will fold the egg whites into the yolks, and then I'm supposed to put the flour in, but my bowl's a little small, so I will then transfer it all to the big bowl and then mix it up, and then time for the oven. All right, the cake has just come out of the oven, so I'm going to let it cool in the pan for a few minutes. Then I will flip it upside down and let it cool for about 10-15 minutes. And then it will be time to put the liquid. Now, I know this looks like a ton of liquid, and you think, oh my goodness, like that cake is just gonna be so soggy. But surprisingly, it just absorbs the liquid, and it is actually a most delicious tasting cake, not soggy at all. All right, the moment of truth. I'm always a little nervous when I go to flip over a cake. I always hope it just kind of comes out. Ooh, sounded like it was loose. Yay. Okay, let's try this and see. Ta-da! Yay! Came out in one lovely piece. Whoa, that's lovely. All right, this has to cool some more before we add our liquid. So I've let the whipping cream kind of simmer for half an hour. I added in 2 tablespoons of butter, and I added in 1/4 cup of allulose and 1/4 cup of erythritol powdered. And I put in a little dash of maple extract just to give it a little boost of flavor. And now I have 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum, which I'm just going to sprinkle on top, and then I'm going to really, really whisk this. And the xanthan gum really helps to thicken things, but a little goes a long way. You do not want to overdo it with xanthan gum. And now this, and if you can see, try to bring it up a bit closer. It's a nice, I made it a nice caramel kind of color with that maple flavoring added. And what will happen with this one, is for the low carb, I will add a bit of almond milk to this, and again some heavy cream, and again that will get incorporated into the cake. Now I'm ready to put the liquid into the cake. I don't have a skewer. I was looking for one, so I'm just gonna make like little, slots with my knife here, and we just kind of go all around the cake. And I have the cake sitting, it's on a rack, but also the rack is in a tray because liquid will obviously leak out. And then what happens, then I will, totally cool this. And just before I serve it, I will make some whipping cream. Whip up some whipping cream, and as if there isn't enough cream and things in the cake, we'll just add some more whipping cream on top. But yeah, that's kind of what we'll do. So now, just want to start pouring a little bit on because I want it to absorb, and if it's not absorbing, it means my holes might not be big enough. There we go, it's going in. Just kind of put a little bit on at a time here. Whoa, almost had an accident there. Phew. All right, here we go. This one is done. I'm just gonna let it sit. And here we have the lower carb version. It looks different, obviously, than the regular, flour sugar version. But I will flip it out and let this cool, and then again do the same thing with it, with the condensed milk that I made, and I added the almond milk to it, and as well the some whipping cream. Well, here we go. It's funny, the recipe said to use a 9x13 pan, and I'm really glad I didn't. What I did use was, it was more like 8x12, and as you can see, it's a lot smaller than what the other cake was. At any rate, I'm ready just to put, start soaking this one. with the sweetened condensed milk. And you can see it just soaks in there nicely. And this one too, when I'm ready to serve it, I will just top it with some whipping cream. Well, all that has to be done now is put the whipping cream on top, but I will wait for that until the kids come, and we will be doing that tomorrow. This also enables the cakes to kind of really soak in all of the flavors, and I always find, especially with the low-carb version of baked goods, I always find they taste better the next day. And here we have it, our 2 Tres Leches cakes. The full-carb version versus the low-carb version. I just put a little bit of raspberries on top, and I put some sprinkles on top because I put the sprinkles on both because I thought, if I don't put it on both, I'm sure I'll hear a complaint. and they'll be like, well, it's no good because there's no sprinkles. We'll be back shortly with the taste test. Okay, here we are, ready for the taste test. So we have the regular traditional Tres Leches cake, and we have the low carb one, which is a little tiny in comparison, but nonetheless, we have the 2 to try. So we have the taste testers here, Valerie and Patrick, and let's have a taste. So you want to have a taste of the regular?
Oh, sparkles.
Yes, I put sparkles on top. What do you think?
Well, it's my favorite dessert of all time, so it's still the best of all time.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
And does it taste like soggy? Do you find the cake taste soggy at
Not
all?
soggy, it's moist.
Moist. I know, because...
But it's dense too.
Mm-hmm. It's because you put this huge container of liquid in the cake, and you think that it's going to be really soggy, but it's absolutely
perfect.
Terrific. It's really
Almost
moist.
melts in your mouth.
So we'll try the low-carb version.
Okay.
Some hesitation there.
It's coconutty.
Yeah, it's a bit coconutty.
It's got some coconut flour in it with the almond flour.
It's not as moist as the other one, but still pretty moist and fluffy. But this is my best dessert, so there's no comparison. For sure, if you're keto, you'll have a good time eating this. If you're not eating this first, but if you have this in the house, you won't eat this one. But
you'll have a good time.
You'll have a good time.
But I know, like when you make something that's low carb, it's not going to taste exactly the same.
No, but it's like when you're keto for a long time, you get used to this taste, and this will be very good if you don't have this one in your house.
Right.
But since you have the best one.
Yep, but nonetheless, it's a good alternative.
It's a good alternative.
Low carb. And I'll link in the description below, I'll put all the macros, but I think to give you a sense in carb wise, in one serving of the low carb, I think there's maybe 4 grams of carbs versus in the or the regular Tres Leches cake, I think was 50 or 60 grams of carbs. So it's quite a difference. All right. Well, thank you kids for joining me in the taste test.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
See you in the next video.